Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. Continue with our reading of the Risala of Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, rahmatullah alayhi, to the people of Qasim. And in the last sitting we discussed some of his defenses of himself against the statements of Ibn Sahin, who had slandered him, to the people of Qasim and others as well, by attributing things to him that he was in reality free of. In this lies a lesson for us that when you are slandered and people, they say things about you that are not true, then don't get disgruntled, don't get upset, just simply clarify and let your own words be a testament as to what you are upon. Don't let someone else write your narrative. Don't let someone else tell your story for you. People will say things about you, oftentimes that are not true. They will praise you with words that are you are not in reality worthy of. Similarly, they will criticize you with that which you are not in reality worthy of. And so, simply clarify. We find this to be a methodology from our Imams of the Salaf. As before this book, we studied the book Sarih al-Sunnah by Imam al-Tabari, which was written in clarification of that which he was upon when he was slandered by the people. People began to slander him. Some of the Hanabila of his time, they had begun to slander him and say things about him that were not true. And so he wrote in clarification of his belief system, and he sufficed with that. Similarly, you find Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn al-Wahhab doing the same. When he was slandered, what did he do? He wrote. He wrote and he clarified. And so, again, in this lies a lesson for us that we are not above clarification or having to clarify that which we are upon. Someone has a misconception about you. Someone thinks something about you that they should not think. Don't take the position that I don't got nothing to prove. I'm not going to. No, clarify. Simply clarify. Alhamdulillah, we're Salafis, and we love to clarify our Aqidah. We love to say what it is that we are upon in reality in terms of methodology and belief. And so Shaykh al-Islam, amongst those things that he was slandered with, is the statement that he's about to refute now. He says, وَإِنِّي أَدَّعِي al-ijtihad. And he says that I claim al-ijtihad. I claim the right to make ijtihad. وَإِنِّي خَارِجْ عَنْ التَّقْلِيد. And that I am absolved, that I am free of following. Taqleed here, it bears the meaning of ittiba'. Because you have a type of taqleed that is blameworthy, and that is that you blind follow someone even when their positions go against the truth, even when their positions go against what has come inside the Kitab and the Sunnah. And this is that taqleed that is blameworthy. And then you have a taqleed that the reality of it, the meaning of it is al-ittiba', reasoned following in accordance with the Kitab and the Sunnah. And so they claimed about the Shaykh that he claimed that he was independent of following the four great Imams, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad. And we know this to be false because the reality the Shaykh was Hanbali. He was Hanbali in fiqh, right? So we know this to be a false statement because his fiqh madhab was that of the Hanabila. Now, and so he says that, and he claimed that I say that I am free of, or that I am, that I have the right to make independent ijtihad in opposition to that which the four Imams were upon. And that I am removed, or that I absolve myself of having to make ittiba' or following of them. So Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, the Mufti of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, he says concerning his statement, inni adda'i al-ijtihad, and he says that I claim that I have the right to make independent ijtihad. He says that Ibn Sahin, he said about him, إنه يدعي أنه مستقل. He says about the Shaykh that the Shaykh says that he is independent. He has his own method, that he doesn't have to follow the Imams. He doesn't have to follow the scholars that came before him. Now, subhanAllah, this it brings to mind something that I got a bit of a kick out of like yesterday. So we know that we have our seminar coming up, right? where we're going to refute some of the deviant groups. And the flyer that we put out that has some of the groups that are going to be refuted. It had the Tablighis, it had the Sufis, had the Shia, had some of the modern day groups, even those who don't even claim attachment to Islam at all, like the Hebrew Israelites, like others besides them. And so when we put the flyer out, someone responded to the flyer on the Masjid's Twitter with a response saying, I don't see Wahhabis up there, right? And so I simply responded with the speech of Shaykh Taqiyuddin Hilali. And he has an article entitled, Is There a Group That Refers to Themselves as Wahhabis? And of course, there's no group on the face of the earth that calls themselves Wahhabi. Whereas these other groups, they call themselves the name that they called by, right? They call themselves the Shia. They call themselves Sufis. They call themselves Hebrew Israelites, and the likes of this, right? They call themselves these things. But there's no group on the face of the earth that calls themselves Wahhabi. So where did the term come from, right? It comes from the enemies of the Sunnah. They coined this term intending it to be an insult when they speak about the people of Tawheed and Sunnah, right? And reality, that the people of old, right, the Quraysh, when they wished to slander the Prophet Muhammad alayhi wasallam, they used terms that were considered to be slanderous or negative in their own language. They had at least enough intelligence that if I want to insult you, I'm going to use a word that's actually insulting to insult you, right? These people, they take someone's name, right, that's not even insulting, and they make it into an insult, right? And they make it into an insult, seeking by way of that to insult those who are followers of the Sunnah. But the reality is that the Shaykh, right, this individual who said this, when I responded to him with the kalam of Shaykh Taqiyuddin al-Hilali, he responded back and said, no, you're called Wahhabis because you are followers of Abdul-Wahhab, right? This statement is ignorant in and of itself, right? Or do we follow Abdul-Wahhab, or do we follow his son, Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab, right? First of all. Second of all, what did Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab come with? Did he come with something new from his own self? No. He came with Kitab and Sunnah. Right? And he would refer back to the Imams that came before him, right? He would refer back to the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah. So do we say that since he's referring back to Ibn Taymiyyah, is a Taymi? Or that Ibn Taymiyyah, if we look at what he called to the way of the scholars that came before him. And he quoted from them and referred back to them, right? And so he was not referred to as a Bakri, meaning a follower of Abu Bakr, or he was not referred to as an Umari, a follower of Umar. He's a Muslim, Salafi, right? And so these terms which the people use, like as if the Shaykh, he came with something new from his own self, really he came with nothing but that which the Imams before him were upon, and then all we're going back to the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he says that, Ibn Sahim, he says that the Shaykh himself claims that he was independent in ijtihad, right? He can make his own deductive reasoning and come up with his own rulings as he saw fit. Naam, yudahi al-imam al-arba', and that he can challenge or go against the four imams. He said that the Shaykh says that. He says, وَهَذَا كَذَبْ, it's a lie upon the Shaykh. It's a lie upon the Shaykh. He says, for Shaykh wa Hanbali, right? To prove that the Shaykh did not think that he was independent of the four Imams. In fact, he followed the Hanbali madhab. The madhab of one of the four Imams. That was his madhab in fiqh. Right? وَلَكِنَّهُ لَا يَتَعَصَّبْ لِمَذْهَبْ إِمَامِهِ. But he was not fanatical regarding the madhab of his Imam. And this is what is incumbent upon us. We can follow any of the ulama, follow any of the scholars, right? Follow any one of the Imams, where they are correct, but without fanaticism. Fanaticism meaning that when their statement contradicts the Kitab and the Sunnah, you still follow their statement. That's fanaticism. And you find many of our scholars of today, even like the likes of Shaykh Uthaymeen, the likes of Shaykh bin Baz, they too were Hanbali in fiqh. And Shaykh Uthaymeen, he would say that I'm Hanbali in fiqh, but not by way of blind following. But not by way of blind following. Now, meaning that you often find that if a position within the madhab contradicted a text, then they would abandon their own madhab and go with what the text said. Go with what the Quran or the Sunnah said. And this is what the Imams themselves taught to their followers. If ever a statement of mine, you find often coming from them, that if ever a statement of mine contradicts an authentic text from the Quran or the Sunnah, then take my statement and toss it against the wall and follow that text, because that is my madhab. That text, that's my madhab. Now, so this is what the Imams were upon, is what they cultivate their students upon, and likewise is what the ulama cultivate their students upon all the way up until this day of ours. And so he says that the Shaykh, he was Hanbali, لكنه لا يتعصب لمذهب إمامه. He was not fanatical towards the madhab of his Imam. وإنما يأخذ ما ترجح بالدليل. Rather, he would take that which the evidence shows to be the stronger viewpoint. He would take that which the evidence shows to be the stronger viewpoint. Now, وَلَوْ كَانَ فِي غَيْرِ مَذْهَبِ إِمَامِهِ, even if it contradicted the madhab of his Imam. So having an attachment to one madhab over another madhab, it does not remove a person's salafiyah. Right? It's not remove a person's salafiyah, but as long as this is without blind following, and whatever the evidence proves to be preponderant, then this is that which our position must be, that which is in line with the evidence. The Shaykh, he says that now, لأنه يريد الحق, because he wanted the truth, وإنما يأخذ بما قام عليه الدليل, and he would take that which the dalil established, that which the evidence proved to be true. لكن لا يخرجون عن المذاهب الأربعة التي هي مذاهب الأئمة. But they would not depart from the four madhahib, meaning they wouldn't look to some shadh opinion, some divergent opinions that went against that which the majority of the ulama were upon. Rather, they stayed within the scope and the realms of what the four imams, of one of the four imams were upon. Now, he says, and these madhahib, they are the madhahib of the imams, التي درست وعرفت وحررت, which are studied, and which are well known, and which are affirmed. وتوارثها المسلمون جيلا بعد جيل. And these madhahib in fiqh is what the Muslims inherited generation after generation. فهو لا يدعي الاجتهاد المطلق. So therefore, the Shaykh himself, he did not claim that he had some independent right to make or absolute right to make ijtihad. يعني لا يدعي أنه في مصاف الأئمة الكبار, meaning that he did not deem himself to be from amongst the major imams, the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed. He didn't deem himself to be upon their level, or that he can be independent of them. Now, he says that, and the likes of Al-Awza'i and other than them. قوله خارج عن التقليد, his statement in which he says that he claimed that I said that I am independent of the imams, or that I can have an independent right to make ijtihad, and that I can depart from ittiba', following of the imams. التقليد هو قبول قول العالم بدون معرفة دليله. The reality of a taqleed, right? When we say taqleed, like I said, it has two meanings. There's the one meaning of it being blind following, and then there's the taqleed, which what is intended by it is ittiba', as reasoned following. The taqleed that is intended to mean blind following, the definition of it is qubul qawl al-alam, is accepting the statement of an alam without knowing his evidence. Wa taqleed ala aqsam. It is the two types. The first type, taqleed a'ma, blind following. That bigoted blind following, being a ta'assab liqawl al-alam, that one is fanatical towards the statement of a particular scholar. نعم ولو كان مخالفا للدليل, even if his statement contradicts and opposes the evidence. Even if his statement opposes the evidence. هذا يخالفه الشيخ محمد وغيره. This type of taqleed, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahhab and other than him from the ulama are in opposition to it. It is not correct. They warn against it. Now, the second type, it is a taqleed bil-haq. It is a taqleed bil-haq, yani following in truth. Following in truth. كأن يأخذ قول العالم, such as, for example, the statement of an alim, of a particular scholar, is accepted as long as the statement corresponds with the truth. As long as it corresponds with the truth. We're going to accept his statement. As long as his statement corresponds with the truth, we're going to accept it. Right? This is taqleed bihaq. This is what we call taqleed bihaqin, yani a rightful type of following. Now, وهذا اتباع. And this is the reality of ittiba, right? So ittiba is what is required. Making ittiba is what is required, and that is reasoned following. Now, and it's similar to, for example, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, he said, La hasada illa fitnataini, right? There's no hasad except in two cases. There's no hasad except in two cases. Hasad, is hasad blameworthy or is it praiseworthy? It's hasad. You know what hasad is? Is it blameworthy or praiseworthy? Huh? Both? Hasad, right, is blameworthy. Because hasad is, envy. Hasad is, right, it is tamanni zawal al-ni'ma, wishing for the removal of a blessing from the one that you envy. Right? This is what hasad is. So when the Prophet ﷺ, he said, La hasada illa fitnataini, there's no hasad except in two cases. Hasad here does not mean hasad. It does not mean that blameworthy type of hasad. It has another intended meaning in this particular context. So it's being used majazan, what's called majazan, as a metaphor. All right, metaphorically. What is intended is al-ghibta, right? Which is the permissible type of jealousy that we can have. The permissible type of jealousy that we can have. So similarly, the term taqleed here, taqleed at its origin is blameworthy. It's blameworthy. But when we say taqleed bil-haq, then what is intended by it is ittiba', reasoned, correct following of someone upon the truth, right? So our scholars, our ulama, if they make a statement, right, and a statement corresponds with the truth, then we follow them in that statement, not for the sake of the alim himself, but for the sake of the truth, because the truth is more beloved to us than anyone, right? Any scholar, any imam, any student of knowledge, the truth is more beloved to us than anyone. Nah? And so what is intended by the term taqleed bil-haq is ittiba', right? Memorize this word, ittiba', or reasoned following. We follow as long as the statement is in correspondence with the truth. All right? If the statement of an alim reaches us and that statement contradicts the truth, no matter who it comes from, someone that's beloved to us or our enemy, right? Doesn't matter who it comes from. If a statement contradicts the truth, we reject it no matter who said it. Doesn't matter who said it. Now, if the person who said it, he opposed that which is corresponding to the truth, is from Ahl Sunnah. Okay, you're still from Ahl Sunnah, we still love you, but you're wrong. You're wrong. We're not going to follow you in that wrong. Now, so this is our position. The truth is more beloved to us. And so he says, now, the taqleed bil-haq, he says that it is ittiba', right? It is ittiba', it is the reason following of the people of truth. يسمونه تقليدا أو يسمونه اتباعا. So they refer to it sometimes as taqleed, and they refer to it sometimes as al-ittiba'. فالمعنى واحد. The meaning of it is one. The meaning of it is one. Now we want to draw attention to something here that which the scholars, they cultivate the students of knowledge upon, right? So for the students of legislative knowledge, then it is never permissible for them to make that taqleed, that we just want to accept the statement of an alim without knowing the evidence, right? Now, The ulama cultivate the students of knowledge upon the absence of this, not making taqlid like that, just accepting anybody's statement, right? Because you're a student of knowledge. You're able to go into the source books and extract the rulings, right? But for those who are from the awam, those who are laymen, who don't, maybe they don't know the Arabic language, maybe they don't have the ability to go into the source books and extract the rulings out of them themselves because they're not a student of knowledge on that level. Then the scholars allow for people like this to make a certain level of blind following of a trustworthy, upright, righteous scholar. Right? You can trust him and you can accept his statement without necessarily knowing how did he arrive at that. Right? So if you look at, for example, many of the fatwa that come from the likes of Shaykh Salih Fawzan, many of these are fatwa, and the nature of a fatwa is that sometimes they may mention the evidence, how they arrive at the ruling, sometimes they may not, right? So with the likes of Shaykh Salih Fawzan, would you not accept his statement? Of course, you'll accept the statement and trust that, that is based upon a dalil, whether you know the dalil or whether you don't know it. This is in relation to the ami, the person who's a commoner and does not have the ability to go into the source books and extract the rulings themselves. They can't accept the statement of an upright, trustworthy alim who's known for precision and known for uprightness and righteousness, known for attachment to the sunnah. Now, if he is not like that, if he's just somebody that just popped up, he's just on YouTube or he's just whatever the case may be, we don't blind follow people like this, no matter who he may be, no matter who the person is. Now, so he says that ويوسف عليه السلام يقول واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب. He says واتبعت, and I have followed the religion, the way of my forefathers Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub. Meaning this is ittiba' bil haq. Of course, they were upon the truth. They were prophets, right? They were prophets. So therefore, he followed their way, the way of the prophets that came before him. So this is ittiba' bil haq. نعم والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان. He similarly mentioned, and the first and foremost from the muhajirun and the ansar, and those who follow them, those who make ittiba' of them, they made reasoned following of the salaf بإحسان, in excellence. He says هذا يسمى اتباعا. So this is referred to as اتباع. فمن كان على الحق فنحن نتبعه. So whoever is upon the truth, then we follow him. If he's upon the truth, then we follow him. Not for the sake of who the person is, but for the sake of what? The truth. For the sake of the truth. Now, as they say that the truth is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he picks it up. Wherever he finds it, he picks it up. الثالث, and the third type of a taqleed, التقليد الأعمى للعالم وهذا حق. You have the taqleed al-a'ma, and a type of blind following of an alim, of a scholar, and this is also correct. And this goes back to what I mentioned previously, which the scholars, they allow for the awam, for the layman, to make a certain level of taqleed of a scholar, even if you may not necessarily know where he extracted the ruling from. Now, if he's trustworthy, known to be precise, known to be a person of sunnah and uprightness, then you can accept his statement even if you don't necessarily know how he arrived at the ruling and where he got it from. Because again, perhaps a person like this cannot go into the source books and extract the ruling themselves, so they can accept the statement of someone trustworthy. As Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask, he said, ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. Ask those who know if you don't know. Now, and so, no, this is a good point to stop. We'll finish the next point tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Allah knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We don't have much longer to go. within this book before we're done. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll be taking a new book soon.